I grew up loving Mom's carrot cake, and she passed away about 5 years ago, and I haven't been able to find a recipe for it in her stuff. I came across one recently, and then actually came across 3 other versions of it. And so like the Da Vinci Code, I have deciphered it for you today, and I'm gonna show you Mom's carrot cake.
My mom was a pretty great lady. She and I worked together in the kitchen when I was a kid, and then when I graduated from high school, she and I worked in an industrial kitchen together. For many years, she was a hobbyist baker. But in her 40s, she went to work as a professional, and she did that until she retired. She was self-taught and made amazing desserts. One of my favorites was her carrot cake. It wasn't fancy, it was baked off in a pan with some frosting slathered on the top, but my brothers and I would make that cake disappear in a day or two. The recipe card for her carrot cake was splattered with grease from years of her using it. Now, my mom's carrot cake was excellent, but it was made to be very utilitarian for an industrial kitchen. So I did some experimenting, and I'll actually be changing just a couple of small things. First, I'm going to be adding a trinity of fall spices, nutmeg, ginger, and cinnamon, instead of just cinnamon to this recipe. And I'll also be adding a little more nuts, but really, that's all I'm changing. The prep for Mom's recipe has no baking instructions, but most carrot cakes call for 350-degree oven, so I'm going to go with that, 350 degrees conventional, 325 convection, and I also sprayed down a 9x11 cake pan. We're going to get together 2 cups of all-purpose flour, that's 240 grams, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, and 2 teaspoons of baking soda, and 1 teaspoon of salt. That's the dry ingredients. For the wet ingredients, we're going to get 2 cups of sugar, or 400 grams, 1.5 cups of oil, I'm using a peanut oil, and that's 350 milliliters, 4 eggs, 9 ounces of shredded carrots, that's 255 grams, 2 small cans of pineapple, these are 8 ounces each, or 227 gram cans, and I'm adding a cup of crushed walnuts. Now for the spices, I'm using 3 teaspoons of ground cinnamon. Her recipe just calls for 2. And then I'm going to use 1 teaspoon of ground ginger and 1 teaspoon of freshly grated nutmeg. Now there's no other instructions on this, so I'm just going to mix this how I think it would be mixed. I'm going to mix all the wet ingredients first, make sure they're all blended. So that's the sugar, the oil, the eggs, and the pineapple. And then I'm gonna whisk all that to make sure it's blended. And then I'm gonna fold in my dry. And then add the additives, which is the carrots and then the nuts. Once that's blended, I'm just gonna pour this directly into a 9x13 pan. Now I baked this in my oven for 50 minutes. And so your time may vary, but it's done when a toothpick comes out dry with some crumbs on it. For Mom's frosting, she just did a very simple cream cheese frosting, which is what I'm going to do here. 5 cups of powdered sugar, that's 500 grams, and 1 stick of softened butter, that's a 113 gram stick. 2 packs, these are 8-ounce packs of cream cheese, that's 226 grams per pack. And then I add in 1 1/2 teaspoons of vanilla extract and a pinch of salt, and then a splash of heavy cream if it needs it. For this, you're going to whip the butter and sugar. I use a stand mixer with a paddle attachment, but you can use a hand mixer if you like. Once it's whipped, scrape the bowl down, whip it again for a minute. Then add in the powdered sugar. Again, mixing it slow to start out, and then once it's all mixed together, scrape the bowl down and continue mixing it for a few moments. Once all that's incorporated, I add a splash of cream if it needs it, and then the vanilla. And then mix this until the sugar dissolves a bit and the frosting's spreadable. Now, I actually think the perfect amount of frosting for this is frosting that's slathered on top of the pan, and then you cut into it. And when you serve the cake, there's frosting only on the top. But if you want, you can remove this cake from the pan, and decorate it as you see fit. If you're going to decorate this cake, my suggestion is use a crumb coat. And that's just a messy underlayer of frosting so that the final layer of frosting is smooth and without a lot of crumbs in it. You're going to want to do that because this cake is very, very moist. And if you can avoid eating this cake all in one day, it is excellent a day or two later. Still very moist, and the spices have a chance to deepen their flavor, and it's absolutely outstanding. So, while I love this version of carrot cake, it isn't just because I like the taste and the texture. It's how eating this cake brings back memories of Mom and remembering how hard she worked and how much she loved her family. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you share this cake with someone that you love.